Hi, everyone. Mitch from PickDogs.com. I'm here with Jay and Al for NFL Week 1, 2022. We tried our other system, did not work correctly. And, this is saying all we can go is 7 minutes. Oh, no, wait. I have 7:03. I have no idea what this clock is doing or how it works. But so we just downloaded another program and we're just going to wing it. And we're going to talk week 1 football. So you can't go wrong with that. But we'll do it on the fly. Al, how's it going? Thanks for bearing with me on this one.
It's going well, but you made me nervous about the whole 7 minute thing. Hopefully, we can get the full show in. But
Well, if it doesn't work, you know that we'll just try again tomorrow.
right,
With our normal program. The total. I'm going to be doing a lot of this stuff on the fly, but it might not be an exact rotation number order on this one, but we'll do the best that we can do. And, we appreciate everyone that hangs with us every week. And of course, the bottom line is you guys are going to get a ton of picks and you should be able to hear everybody and all the most important stuff. Cause we started doing it before and people couldn't hear Jay. So, I don't know how to see the comments on this thing, but I will figure it out as we go. Oh, here we go. Comments. There we go. Awesome. We can do it. You guys know, those of you guys that know me, that know, what we do here. I've been at this a long time and, bumps in the road are all part of, being online and being in the online space. But at the same time, we always roll with the punches. But anyways, Al, you excited for week 1 NFL?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. And, we've got I think it could be the best game of the year to kick off the season, which is kind of crazy. I thought Buffalo was the best team last year. They just were 13 seconds away from getting past Kansas City. This year, Buffalo is my pick to win it all. I took them at plus 750 back in February, and then I took them again at plus 650 in August. So I think Buffalo's in real good shape this year to finally win a championship.
How about you, Jay? You excited for NFL football season? It's your first season with us, and we're excited to have you here. Kind of a different look at things than, two old guys here that have kind of been around the block. We know that, you're not new to sports betting, but you're new to kind of the handicapping world where it's like, there's a little more to it, I think, being an online handicapper and, working these websites and doing all this sort of thing than there is, just picking games and, saying on Twitter, these are my picks or anything like that. And it's just a different game all the way around. And so how's it going for you so far? And what do you plan on doing this NFL season?
Yeah, man.
We know preseason you knocked the cover off the ball, but you're going to talk. I'm going to go get a pen because I want to put the bookmarks in. And normally I do that on the fly as I go. I guess I can still do it on the fly. Why not? You know what I mean? I will do it on the fly.
For sure. This is like you said, the everyday handicapping is for sure a grind, with the articles and everything. But if you love it, you do it. And that's what I love to do. So that's what I do, And then far as NFL season, man, I'm so excited for that, man. I can't wait. My favorite sport to handicap, my favorite sport to watch, and my everything like that. So I'm excited for it. And like Al said, man, I'm excited for this week 1, game 1. This is crazy.
Well, speaking of game 1, week 1, let's get right into it. Let's go. We got the Bills and the Rams. The Bills favored by 2.5 points in this thing on the road at the defending Super Bowl champs. And the total set at 52.5. This one, of course, Thursday, 8:20 Eastern time. I had all kinds of great stuff set up before, but just wouldn't let me do it. So we will let me see something.
In this game here, though, I like the under in this game. both teams have I think both teams' defenses are kind of getting slept on, and I think this total is going to creep up a little bit. We know both teams have strong offenses. We know how strong both teams' offenses are, but I just think this total is going to be a little high. So I'm taking the under here in this game. The Bills, like Al said, I think they're going to. I like their chance to make it to the Super Bowl this year as well. AFC not as strong. A few teams kind of took a step back. The Rams here at home, though. Super Bowl ceremony, all that going on. Week one, I think the defense is being slept on a little bit, and I like the under.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting, how you approach betting on or against the Super Bowl champion in week one. When you go back to 1980, the defending champs are 20-20 with 2 pushes in week one, but they've done a lot better at home than on the road. At home in week one, the defending champs are 16-10 with 2 pushes. And then if they're an underdog in week one, they've gone 4-3 ATS. Then when you look at the whole season, not just game one, but if you look at the whole season, when the defending Super Bowl champs are underdogs, they're 56-47 with 3 pushes ATS. So, that might bode well for the Rams here, but I'm still going to take the Buffalo Bills. One of the things I like to do is go against teams in game one if they're off back-to-back winning years and now they're underdogs. Those teams have gone just 23-47 ATS. So I'm going to take the Bills minus the points against the Rams.
For me, I'm going to go with the I'm going with the Rams in this one at home. I just think that, they're the defending Super Bowl champs. We're getting points at home. If they're the bigger TV market, they might not win this game, but I think getting those 2.5 points, we saw the way that these college games that got the national televised solo game, we saw how these things went, and the refs seem to do a nice job of carving them right into place perfectly for these types of tight, exciting finishes. And I think the NFL certainly not above that. So especially, with these two teams going, of course, sports betting legal in New York. So going to be a lot of action here on the Buffalo Bills, my guess. And, all these things. So Al, guys, like, if you were a athlete and a sport and caught betting, throughout history, you're banished for life, no matter what the sport is. But nowadays they have a sports book in the stadium.
And nowadays, the owners of the teams are taking money from the sports books for advertising as well. So it's multi-layered, as they would say.
It certainly is. And just trying to get used to this new software program that, like I said, I don't think this is a long-term solution for us, but definitely to have a backup is something new for us. And I'm happy that we're at least able to do a show, even if it doesn't have the bells and whistles and the graphics that I made for the other show. I can't figure out how to get it to work on this one, but I had graphics for all of them, just like this one that you see here. That you just go over the top. It doesn't fit on this. I don't know how to modify the size on this software program. You could ask these guys. I downloaded this and learned how to do it while we were doing it. But we'll go to our next game, and in this one, we'll do the Saints minus 5.5 at the Falcons. The total in this game is set at 42.5. This is a rivalry game. Make no mistake about it. Jay, what do you think about this one?
I'm gonna take the Falcons plus the 5.5 in this one. Divisional game. These two teams know each other better than anything. They're gonna play each other tight. Marcus Mariota, now the starter for the Falcons. He's not a rookie, you know what I'm saying? He looked good in Tennessee when we first seen him there, and he looked half decent in Oakland or in Las Vegas now. So I think this game is going to be tighter than a lot of people are thinking. I think Atlanta comes out week one. I know a lot of people think Atlanta's going to be maybe the worst team in the league, but they don't necessarily know that yet. Week one, they're going to come out. They're going to come out just as hype as all of us are week one, just to win this game. And like I said, there's no better team that they would want to beat more than the Saints. So I would like to have these points in my back pocket in a divisional game. Jameis Winston coming off an ACL injury. We don't know how strong he looks. New head coaching staff for the Saints. We don't know how strong that is. I haven't been hearing a lot about that. Sean Payton no longer there. I like to have the points with the Falcons in my back pocket in this one.
Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota, these guys faced off, I believe, in a college football playoff matchup a few years ago, the year that Ohio State won the national championship. These guys played in the opening round game, and then I believe it was Oregon, the winner in that one, with Mariota going to the national championship game and losing to the Buckeyes. Al, what do you think of this one?
Well, I agree with Jay. I'm going to take the points here as well. It's not a strong play for me by any stretch, but Atlanta 17-6 ATS. Its last 23 home openers, including 7-1 ATS as a home underdog. New Orleans, on the other hand, they're 3-12 ATS since 2007 in their road openers, including 0-6 ATS as a favorite of -3 or more points. As Jay mentioned, big division rivalry. Last year they traded victories, although last year they each won on the road. But this year I think Atlanta at home is the play.
I'm going to roll with you guys. I'm going to stay with the Falcons. We'll make it a unanimous decision here. I think the Atlanta Falcons not getting a lot of credit here, and I think it's a team that I think Marcus Mariota just adds a new wrinkle. I'm not saying that Matt Ryan is a bad quarterback by no stretch of the imagination, is he? But I just think it was time for a change, for them and for him. That relationship had run its course. They had taken away all of his weapons that he had. I think, the Falcons, the Calvin Ridley thing, all of that stuff. I mean, just a lot of stories happened around this Falcons team. A few years ago, the Falcons were just dead meat, like in those over the middle 8-yard passes. It was just, they could not stop that. And then, they had pass rushes. Then they made it all the way to the Super Bowl. What was it? 3 or 4 years ago, this was a Super Bowl team. So, it happens that fast on the rise and on the decline. But I think Marcus Mariota, what we saw from him last year in Las Vegas is, he really is not that bad. He was the second overall pick in the NFL draft the year he came out. And so he's not that bad. I tell you, he's better than some other second round picks that'll be starting today or on this week that we'll be talking, second overall picks that we'll be talking about coming up on the show. Those of you that are joining us a little late, this is our NFL show, and it's something that we're going to do every week. If it looks a little different to you, it's because it is. Because we couldn't get our regular software that we used to work. So we just did it on the fly to make sure that we get a show out to you guys. You'll have all week to watch it. And of course, Jay and Al both appear on a lot of live shows. I do as well. So as things change throughout the week, if there are drastic line moves, if there's anything like that, by all means, on the live shows, they'll have plenty of chances to address it, of course, all the way up to game day when we're all live together on Sunday. And then, of course, if you want their best bets, head on over to the premium area at pickdogs.com and sportschatplace.com. And while you're there, just use that discount code WIN15, WIN15, get 15% off. You can, in fact, you can pair both these guys together, get a 2-for-1 capper, week, month, get the weekend, whatever, and get both their best bets. So we've got the next game up is the 49ers at the Bears. This is an interesting matchup in a lot of respects because the 49ers spent a lot of not just the offseason, but last season talking about how Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't going to be on the team this year. And all of a sudden he is on the team this year. And it's a nice luxury to have. I don't care what anybody says. Having a backup quarterback that has starting experience and really could compete for the starting. The reason they wanted to get rid of him is they wanted to give Trey Lance kind of like that. It's his team and it's his job. And you don't want this guy breathing down your neck because now every time this guy throws an interception, every time this guy, runs out of bounds, 4 yards down the field when on 3rd and 5, every time any of these things happen, he's going to be questioned. And, they have a guy on the sidelines that they know has starting experience. So that is part of the problem. On the other side of this game, we saw a guy in Justin Fields that I had no idea was going to be NFL ready last season. And I'm not saying in every aspect of his game was he NFL ready, but man, did he look like an NFL QB. He was kind of like a Cam Newton, like a more athletic, he looked big, he was like a big guy. playing quarterback that could run. It was like, man, he could throw. He was the number 1 recruited quarterback out of high school when he signed with Georgia, kind of just like Quinn Ewers, who left Ohio State and went to Texas. Justin Fields left Georgia and went to Ohio State. So it's kind of like these, just because you're the most highly recruited. And then, of course, remember, we saw a quarterback leave Ohio State. He won the Heisman Trophy somewhere else at LSU, Joe Burrow. So it happens, but all these guys can flat out play. And I got to say, Justin Fields is one of the more surprising players to me. And, the Bears, Soldiers, tough building, man. It's a tough place to play. Jay, what do you think?
I think I'm going to have to agree with you here. I like the Bears here in this one. I'm not sold on Trey Lance. The 49ers don't seem to be sold on Trey Lance. The media don't seem to be sold on Trey Lance. Who is sold on Trey Lance? Until I see him play good.
Well, the guys that traded up to draft him in the top 5, they're sold on. They don't have a choice.
I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. It seems like they're trying to force him in there, but with Jimmy G still there, I think Jimmy gets those reins halfway through the season again. I like the Bears here week 1. At home, I'm getting a home underdog at home in the week 1 setting with a quarterback who is improving. He's basically a rookie in my book. Those 2 games he played last year really don't mean much. He didn't show much. He threw 1 pass. Justin Fields, on the other hand, he was a rookie last year, but he played majority of the season. Not all. Andy Dalton played a little bit, but I'm gonna take the Bears here in this first game plus the points. I just think it's going to be a tighter game than a lot of people are thinking, and the Bears could maybe upset late. I don't know.
What about you, Al?
Yeah, I think a lot of gamblers, when they handicap NFL week 1, the first thing they do is go back to take a look at how the team did the previous year, which I think a lot of people fall into traps when they do certain things like that, because, of course, it's a different season. And last year, San Francisco, they won 2 playoff games, had a terrific year. Chicago finished last season 6-11. They were 3rd place in the NFC North. So I think a lot of people obviously are going to look to bet on the 49ers here. But when you take a look at how NFL teams do when they made the playoffs the previous year, and they're favored by 6 or more points against teams that were not playoff teams, they've only covered 27 out of 69 times. So I think I'm going to take Chicago here plus the points, and I wouldn't be surprised if they won the game straight up.
I'm a little surprised here because I agree with both of you guys. I was expecting that someone here would be on the 49ers at least, because I think that the 49ers are just such the public play. I think one thing that we have to remember is that Bosa was injured, right out of the gate last year for the 49ers, and he is their best defensive player at this point. And they have plenty of good talent on this team. They've got the wide receiver that can do it all, right? They have one guy that kind of can really do it all on offense, and the bailout guy. The problem for me with Trey Lance is he throws it right at the defender of the other team, and that is not a good strategy in the NFL. It might work at some of these other places, but like North Dakota State. But I'm not so sure it's going to work in the NFL. And Justin Fields, I think this kid's pretty good. It's like I admit it when I'm wrong. It's like I can be hard on guys on draft day. I was very hard on Mitch Trubisky, Jared Goff. I was very hard on Carson Wentz. I was hard on Patrick Mahomes. I didn't understand that trade. I thought they should have taken Deshaun Watson in that spot. And, I own it. Patrick Mahomes is awesome. Deshaun Watson, pretty good too. Of course, he's got some other issues, but that's, different story, different show. I think it's going to be on Nightline or something eventually, but it's this Justin Fields can play, and I think he's the better quarterback. I think he's if you have 2 minutes left to go in the game, I'd way rather have and you need 2 points to win. I'd way rather have Justin Fields as my quarterback than Trey Lance. And maybe he'll prove me wrong. But every time I see Trey Lance make a big play in the preseason, it's always like a 4-yard out that the receiver runs down the field and it turns into like a 75-yard play. It just seems that he finds the guy in the open space who creates it for him. He doesn't throw the ball downfield to the receiver. And when he's called to throw the ball into a receiver, he seems to throw it right at the defensive back and hopes that his receiver will step in front. If he doesn't get there, the ball hits the defensive back right in the chest. And you don't see too many NFL quarterbacks use that strategy.
I agree with you, man. One quarterback was recruited, like you said, by Ohio State and Georgia, and Trey Lance went to South Dakota State,
North Dakota State.
or North Dakota State.
But we've seen 2 North Dakota State quarterbacks go top 5 in the last few years.
Who's the other one? Who's the other?
Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I mean, you get where I'm getting at.
I'm just saying. Just saying.
I don't. The competition they were playing, they can look good on film, but when they get to playing the level of competition that everybody else is playing, the jury is still out on both of those, and the stock is not high in my book.
All right. Well, I messed up my bookmark, so I'll have to go back and fix those tonight. For the show, I got carried away. I got excited. We're talking football here. Those of you that are joining us late, this is our NFL preview show. We're going to be doing this every week. Hopefully, we fix the format and all that other stuff. We just did what we had to do to get it done. No excuses, just picks, and we're bringing it. We've got Jay Briggs, Big Al McMordie, 2 of the best in the business, with us all season long. I'll put them up against any 2 handicappers in the world. A lot of people treat handicapping and sports betting like it's a picking contest. It isn't. But if it was, I'd take these 2 guys. Anyways, I got this. Okay, we're good to go. We got the next up. We've got the Steelers taking on the Bengals, and this is odd because traditionally the Steelers have really kind of had their way with the Cincinnati Bengals. They really have, but this year's Steelers team is a little bit different. It is the changing of the guard at quarterback, and Ben Roethlisberger is no longer with the team. He was the heart and soul of this team for a long time, and he was a guy that a lot of guys were drafted ahead of him, and he played with the chip on his shoulder, and I always liked him for that. And whether you liked the Steelers or not, who always get a lot of really good calls, but the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl last season, and they have a quarterback, and they got receivers, and they've got an offense. Man, they have got an offense and a half, and they have a defense and a half. I mean, who in the world thinks when they toss the coin and the Chiefs get the ball against the Bengals, who thinks the Bengals are ever going to see the football ever again? Right? It's like, it's automatic though that we all had the Bengals with the points, but did we think that Patrick Mahomes at that point?
Nah, but you're right for sure. You're right.
At that point, it's Patrick Mahomes who's been to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. He's got the ball and he's up against the Cincinnati Bengals. At the end of the day, they're still the Bengals, right? I mean, they still are, but these are not your father's Bengals, as they say. Jay Briggs, usually Super Bowl losers. I'm sure Al's got some good stats for us on this, but Super Bowl losers generally not the triumphant return to the big game type of season. It is super rare. I think it was the 71 Miami Dolphins that lost the Super Bowl and came back. They lost 24-3 to the Cowboys, came back, ran the table the next year. You just don't see it, and that's how rare it is. I think that might have been the last time that's happened. I mean, ask the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. For me in this game, another division rival game, and I'm going to take the points with the Steelers. I'm actually a person that's really high on the Bengals. I like the Bengals. I was on the Bengals a ton last year. I think I'm probably going to be on them a ton again this year. But here again in this game, it's a division rival game against the Steelers, who, like you said, have beaten the crap out of the Bengals for years on years. No more Big Ben. We got Mitch Trubisky in there, who, in my opinion, it should be Kenny Pickett. They need to get Kenny Pickett in there as fast as possible. But it's Mitch Trubisky. I think Mitch Trubisky's playing for his job, as I just said. So he's got to go out there and give it everything he's got. He was a high overall pick too for the Chicago Bears, so he still has some things to prove. I don't want to say Super Bowl hangover. I don't want to say that, but I kind of want to say it. So I'm going to take the points here in this matchup. It's a division rival. I think this game is going to be closer than most people think. And I think the Bengals win this game by 4 points. So I'm going to take the points here with the Steelers.
Alan, we're all waiting for it.
Yeah, I mean, well, as far as the losers of the Super Bowl, the one thing you want to do is go against them as short road favorites throughout the season, not necessarily game one, but just throughout the season. They've underperformed as short road favorites. But as far as this game here, I think this is one of the trickier games on the card, I could make an argument for Pittsburgh. I could make an argument for Cincinnati. I'm going to try to make an argument for Pittsburgh here, but it's. I think there are also reasons to take the Bengals. But last season, Cincinnati turned the tables on the Steelers. They won both games, including a 41-10 blowout loss on Thanksgiving weekend. So now Pittsburgh, of course, playing with double revenge. And when you take a look at how game ones, how teams do when playing with double revenge against a division rival, they've gone 61-38 ATS. Another revenge situation in game one, if you're playing with revenge from a 21-point or worse defeat, you're 38-23. So I'm going to take the points with Pittsburgh, but I also recognize Cincinnati's in some pretty good spots as well.
I really like that Pittsburgh defense as much as I hate Mitch Trubisky, and he was a guy that I bashed the whole trading up to and getting him because Bill Parcells, who knows a thing or two about football, and even at the end of it all, he knew a couple things about football, though we didn't see it, in his time with the Dolphins when he drafted Chad Henne. But the thing is that he always believed that in the NFL draft that you draft a 4-year starter in college, and there's just not that many of them anymore, like there used to be. So I wonder if his strategy would change today. Probably would, but maybe he would draft a 3-year starter. Well, Spencer Sanders would be his guy, right, coming out next year. But the thing is that I think a 1-year starter is just not something that is generally a really good thing for a quarterback and in college. And Mitch Trubisky was a 1-year starter at North Carolina, and it wasn't even that good. And they traded up and they got him, the Bears, and they paid the price mightily. The thing about the Steelers is, though, and what keeps them in this game and what makes those 6.5 points so appealing is they got a sick defense. I mean, they got, number one, you have probably I would say one of the top 5 coaches in all of football, not just NFL, college, pro, whatever. I'd say he's in that Belichick Saban discussion. I mean, he's been around certainly as long as them, and he certainly wins as often as them. I'd say Pete Carroll is probably in that discussion. Guys that have been around for a long time, been able to keep jobs and win. It's a very tough game. We saw Scott Van Pelt say to Dabo Swinney last night after the game. He's like, a football coach isn't happy unless he's got a few things to work on after the game. It's like they win by 31 points. He's like, and it's true. But, a guy like Mike Tomlin, he never seems to really get knocked too far off center, right? You don't see him screaming at his players, tearing them down. And he's had plenty of opportunities to do that. He never tears the guys down, at least not in public. We don't see what happens behind in the locker room. And no one really says anything about it. But when it comes to the X's and O's or whatever, this guy kind of rolls with the punches and really gets it done. It's like, man, I don't really feel that comfortable giving him 6.5 points, especially, when people are feeling comfortable laying it. It's like, he's got that TJ Watt. He's got Minkah Fitzpatrick, ball hawk, and he's got a whole bunch of other guys. And I mean, they did a very nice job in the draft as well. They always have good running backs.
Harris would be nice this year.
Yeah, they got Pickens, my guy.
Pickens,
I thought was one of the top receivers in the entire draft. Used to win money on his father, and I plan on winning money on him as well, kind of like racehorses. But I don't know. I'm a little. I could see it. I could make it. Like Al said, I could make an argument either way. But laying 6.5 against Mike Tomlin in a season opener, even with Mitch Trubisky as your quarterback, because he's won with less than that. That's the whole thing, is that he has.
And Big Ben wasn't necessarily good last year, and that team got to where it got to last year, positive records.
So here's the thing, Jay. We look at Trubisky and we say, all right, he's not good, right? But where is he in relation to Mason Rudolph? This is a huge step forward. He's not going to make the mistake. He's maybe he can't take the team on his shoulder like some guys can. But he also isn't going to make those massive. I mean, Mason Rudolph just looks like a deer in the headlights, out there. It's terrible.
Yeah, I don't like Rudolph at all. I don't even know how he was fighting for the starting position in this quarterback room either.
Oh, he's not. It's Pickett's job. It's Pickett's job.
Yeah, they need.
Anyways, we'll move on to the next game. And in this one, another interesting one. These are a lot of interesting matchups. I think this game is interesting. You got the Eagles going to the Lions in total 48.5. Last year, we saw the Lions, it's a blessing and a curse. I have memory like an elephant. The Lions actually played pretty tough down the stretch there. Dan Campbell had this team pretty motivated at times. And I think that, the Lions, as bad as they are, I think they also made some tough decisions in as far as personnel that is going to help them over the long term and help them build their own identity. What we saw in this year in the cuts, across the NFL, were teams not afraid to cut former first-round picks that aren't helping the team. And we saw Jared Davis get cut by the Detroit Lions was one of those. Jay, what do you think of this thing? 3.5 points with Jalen Hurts on the road.
Now, if I ever had the chance to take my first Ruffalo, it would be this game right here. But I'm going to give y'all a side. I would go with Philly here in this game. As much as I want to take Detroit was my money team last year. They were terrible last year, but they were covering spreads. I think a lot of people are probably looking at that and from last year and think that they come out and do it again. I like the Eagles to be half decent this year, even though I'm a Cowboy fan. I think they give us a run for our money in the division. And I think this is just one they got to have if they want to do that. So I look for the Eagles to win this game. And if they win it, I think they win it like 24-20.
This is my favorite comment. Idiot hour. I like that. Thank you. I resemble that remark. It's kind of like, did you? Yeah. Okay. Okie pokey. Al, what do you think of this one?
Well, I look at last season, the Eagles came into the Silver Dome and they won 44-6. So it's not often you're going to lose by 38 points at home, but that's what Detroit did last year. And when you take a look at how home teams do when they're playing with revenge from a home loss by 28 or more points, those teams have covered 63% ATS since 1980, including 7-0-1 ATS the last 8 when getting more than 3. I think this is, again, the number looks a little short here. I think a lot of people might step in and take Philly. I'm going to go the opposite way and take Detroit.
I'm going to take Detroit as well. I think home openers.
We're agreeing on a lot of these games so far.
Well, we got to, why? Because we got a lot of home dogs. And it's like that is a surefire recipe. Home dogs in season opener is like, I mean,
it's around 50-50.
Is it? I'll take it on some of these games, I'll take it. You give me 50-50 against the Eagles. I like my 50. That's for sure. It's like you have a quarterback in Jalen Hurts that can't throw the ball downfield. And while they do have some receivers now, and they got Hollywood. No, they didn't get Hollywood Brown. They got AJ Brown. So much better actually than Hollywood Brown. But still, you still got to get the ball to him. And I don't know if Hurts can do that, throwing the ball down the field in the style that he plays. So I don't know. I just think that the Eagles maybe
Mitch, home dogs are 109 and 106 with 4 pushes since 1980 in week 1.
I'll take it.
50.2.
The juice will eat you alive. Basically, you got juiced on those. So is where you went. But we go to our next game, and what's worse, idiots than three idiots talking about football or sitting there and watching them? I think it's like, anyways, this is a real interesting one for me. Of course, I'm a Dolphins season ticket holder. I haven't been to a game in forever, but I have my Dolphins Patriots picture right here of Kenyon Drake running it into the end zone with Rob Gronkowski sprawled out there to try and tackle him. They sent that out to all season ticket holders the day after that game with a letter. They sent this picture out to all season ticket holders saying, this is the shape of things to come or whatever. It was like, yeah, 2 head coaches later and, all this other stuff, in between. But hopes are high for the Dolphins. This is the first year in the history of the team that started, in the mid 60s that they've ever had a sold out season tickets. It's the first time they've ever done it. And, of course, they took half the stadium and turned it into luxury boxes. But that's, a different story. But at the same time, The tickets are top dollar, and the Dolphins, a lot of excitement surrounding this team. They feel that they have the right coach. They feel that they have the right quarterback. They have the right offense. They have the right defense. They have the offensive line. They've got a deep team, a good mix of guys that they've drafted and guys that they've picked up selectively through free agency. The Tyreek Hill trade is the type of trade that puts you over the top. The Dolphins, of course, really have all their chips on the table this season because, well, they don't have they have a first round draft choice, and it's actually right behind. It projects to be right behind the draft choice that they would have had, but the Dolphins have lost their first round draft choice for the upcoming NFL draft for the tampering case, Stephen Ross tampering case that they lost. So they lost their own first round draft choice. They have somebody else's. I think it's the Giants or the Steelers. It might be. But anyways, the Patriots once owned this series, but they never have owned the games in Miami. And the Dolphins have actually owned this series recently. They've actually been crushing the Patriots. They swept them last year. Jay, what do you think? Is this Tua's year?
So when I was looking at this game, I was looking through, and I seen that this might be the first time the Dolphins have been favored against the Patriots since like 2013. And that was interesting to me. I'm on the Dolphins here in this one. I think the Dolphins take care of the Patriots. I'm a firm believer in Tyreek Hill. I think he's top 2 receiver in the league. That speed is just unmatched. I think he played a big part in why Mahomes is Mahomes. A lot of those passes, it wasn't a Mahomes pass. It was a Tyreek Hill catch that, and I'm going 70.
I think Mahomes is pretty good.
Mahomes is pretty good, but how many times did Tyreek catch it 10 yards and go 70? So I think he can do that for Tua too. I think he can catch a few and go 70. And let's not forget that they have Jalen Waddle over there too, who is arguably just as fast as Tyreek Hill, arguably just as much of a playmaker. So with such high-powered wide receivers over there for Tua, most are back there at the running back. I think that the Dolphins will improve. We haven't seen much from the Patriots this offseason. I'm not impressed by their wide receiver group, even though it's the highest paid wide receiver group in the NFL. The running back position is not great. Mac Jones is a middle-of-the-pack quarterback at best. And if we're banking on the Belichick defense this year, I like this offense better than I like this defense. So I'm going to take these. I'm going to lay the points with the Dolphins at home. I liked it at 3, but I still like it at 3.5. I see this maybe being a 6-point win for the Dolphins, and they start their season out hot.
Jay, I'm going to put it in perspective for you. Number 1 in that draft was Myles Garrett. Okay. Superstar. Number 2 was Trubisky. Okay. So he went 9 spots ahead of Patrick Mahomes. Solomon Thomas, not with the team that drafted him. Leonard Fournette, not with the team that drafted him. Corey Davis, not with the team that drafted him. Jamal Adams, not with the team that drafted him. Mike Williams, Christian McCaffrey, John Ross. Those are the guys that went before Patrick Mahomes. I think he's better than just Tyreek Hill. I do.
No, that's not what I was saying. For sure. But hey, it makes it a lot different when you got somebody that can go.
You look at some of these. You look at some of the players that went in that draft. I would say, you look at a guy like you look at a guy like Marlon Humphrey, for the Ravens, and you say, oh, there's a guy that may be in that same category. It's a different position. But outside of that, O.J. Howard, Jared Davis, who just got cut by the Lions, Evan Ingram, not on the same team, Charles Harris, this is there's no exact science to it, but
I'm trying
if you end
to
up with Patrick Mahomes, it's a pretty nice day at the office.
I'm trying to think of a superstar receiver that went from a superstar quarterback to like an average quarterback and how they did, but I can't really just think of one off the top of my head. Usually they go from like average to great, like Odell. He went from
we're gonna find out because there's another one that did. There's one that did go this year, and it's Devontae Adams. So he went from Aaron Rodgers and he's gone to Derek Carr, who's not horrible. He's Derek Carr's kept his starting job for the Raiders for a while now. So it's like he's not like horrible, but not quite Aaron Rodgers, right? So,
Yeah.
Al, we'll go on that one. But we got Dolphins and Patriots. The Dolphins, you got to remember, it's not just Tyreek Hill. They have another burner in Waddle, too. I mean, these guys have the track team going on in Miami.
I think, like the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game, for me, this is a really difficult game. I can make an argument for either side here. I'm going to probably go with New England here, plus the points. Just the history of Bill Belichick playing with revenge against division rivals. He's 65-37 ATS. I'm sorry, the Patriots are 65-37 ATS, but even during the Belichick era, they've continued that long-term trend goes back before Belichick. And then, as I mentioned, the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh games, teams playing with double revenge have gone 61-38 ATS in game one, including 49-27 ATS as an underdog. So I'll give a shaky nod to the Patriots plus a 3.5.
I'm going to take the Dolphins in this one. I think that it's going to be closer than people think. I think it's going to be, it's going to be close to that number, but I think the Dolphins, I think this series is flipped. Okay. Because normally the early game is in New England and then the late game is in Miami. And normally the Patriots wilt in that Miami Heat late in the season. And this time they're going to wilt in that Miami Heat early in the season because I don't care. I know it's hot all over the country and all that other stuff, but I'll tell you what, there's not even close to the heat in Miami that these other teams face, and the humidity and all of that other stuff. I expect to see a lot of cramps in week one out of those Patriot players. And I think the Dolphins have a big edge because of that. It's a 1:00 Eastern time game. It's going to be 100 degrees at that game. I mean, it's going to be 100 on the field. It's the stadium is closed for the fans, but open on the field. It's going to be suffocatingly hot at that game. I expect to see a lot of cramping up by those Patriot players. We'll have to see how it plays out. And then we've got, we've got the Jets against the Ravens. The Ravens were uncharacteristically bad last year. They lost their running back right out of the gate, and then they never really were able to replace him. And then Lamar Jackson, had problems, and now Hollywood Brown is gone. This could be the worst set of wide receivers in the league, here in Baltimore. But this is a franchise that wins, though. But these guys know how to win. Jay, what do you think? Playing 6.5 on the road against the Jets, who quiet this preseason, but a team that I think is drafted pretty well.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is probably my toughest game on here for this first week. But I think I'm gonna take the points with the Jets in this one. As much as I love Lamar Jackson, as much as I love what he's doing with the Ravens, the Jets, they improved last year. They did. The Jets showed some improvement last year. I know Zach Wilson is not starting in this game, but that gives me kind of even more reason to kind of like the Jets. We got Joe Flacco should be starting in this game, and he was with the Ravens. He won a Super Bowl with the Ravens, so I think he's gonna have a little extra edge in this one, maybe just a slight little edge. But 6.5 with the Ravens week one on the road just doesn't seem like a good spot to be. Seems like a perfect spot for the Jets to score a late touchdown. The Ravens will be winning all game, and the Jets score a late touchdown to cover. That's how I feel like this game goes in a heartbreak. I'm going to take the Jets plus the points.
Al, what do you think?
I'm going to take Baltimore. Baltimore was 8-3 after 11 games last season. They were seeded first in the AFC, notwithstanding the injuries to their backfield. And then, of course, the other player in their backfield, Lamar, goes out and he misses the last he missed the last 4 games of the season, but it all kind of, their decline started 2 weeks before he got injured. But, they lost the last 6 games. It's a new season for Baltimore. I'm going to lay the points. The Jets historically have done much better at home versus winning teams than they had versus losing teams or in game one when a team, of course, is 0-0. When the Jets are playing teams without a winning record, they're 66-115 ATS. When they play teams with a winning record, they're 80-65 ATS at home. So there's that dichotomy with the Jets at home versus, great teams and not great teams. I know it's week 1, but still, I'm going to take Baltimore minus points.
I'm still not sold on the Jets quarterback position there, and I think they have some problems there, and I think that's going to be their undoing. We know one thing, man, is with the Ravens, they love to really pound the bad teams. I mean, they really beat them up too. So it's like, if you're taking the Ravens here, don't even worry about like in your parlays of throwing in the money line or whatever, because if they win this one, they're going to win by 25 points. That's how they do it against the bad teams. And Lamar Jackson, you look at those career highlights that he has and those really big ones, it's always against teams like this, against the Jets. And, the Jet fans will be there, but they're used to losing anyway. We've got the Jaguars at the Commanders. Okay, so they have a name now, no longer the Washington football team. They did not go with Eskimos, which was my recommendation. They went with Commanders. Hate it. And I think they'll probably not win a game this season because of it. Jay, what do you think?
Now, this is another ugly game, probably the worst game on the card. Just teams-wise, I don't think either of these teams are going to be very good this year. I think the Jags do take a step forward this year, though. And I'm gonna take the Jags on the money line, actually, in this one. I think we see Trevor Lawrence actually take that step. That this guy, when he first came in, we thought he was Joe Montana. We thought he was Tom Brady again. You know what I'm saying? That's how they were talking about him, at least. And we seen him at Clemson. He was pretty good. Last season was a complete disaster, but I'm not putting that on his shoulders. When you have your head coach doing whatever he's doing and gets fired mid-season, to Urban Meyer in your first season, that tells me all I need to know about how the organization is being run. But with Doug Peterson in there this year, they got an adult in the building, somebody who's been there, somebody who knows what he's doing. He may not be the best, but Doug Peterson, he's going to get that offense flowing at least. He had Carson Wentz looking half decent. So I think Trevor Lawrence takes that step forward. And I'm not putting my faith in Carson Wentz this week. And I think he's going to look pretty pedestrian in this game. He only has one decent receiver in Terry McLaurin out there. And I'm just going to take the Jags here in this one. I think they play spoiled to the Commanders in week 1.
Doug Peterson also got Nick Foles to the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Yep, won the Super Bowl, Nick Foles. But he also is the guy that, that brutal 2-point conversion against Seattle, where Seattle just stood there and really probably one of the worst beats in the history of Monday Night Football. Big Al, what do you think?
Well, one of the things I do, every handicapper is different, but I don't like laying points with bad teams. I'll take the worst team in football. It could be 0-11, but if I'm getting points, I'm good. But when a team's a bad team, you're going to rarely see me lay points. I'll lay points with a good team. And Washington last year was 7-10. And when you take a look at how NFL teams have done with a losing record the year before, if they're favored in week 1, they haven't done well. They're 78-95 ATS with 4 pushes, including 5-15 ATS the last 4 seasons. So that doesn't bode well for the Commanders here. And then historically, the Commanders have been horrible as a home favorite. Going back to 1992 when they're playing a non-winning opponent, they're 25-64 ATS. So I can't lay points with Washington here. I'm going to go against them.
I'm with you guys. We're in agreement again. We're taking the road dog here with the Jaguars, getting 2.5 points here, not even getting a field goal, which should tell you everything you need to know. And Jay talks about money. He was asking Al about money movement and stuff while we had our technical difficulty timeout. And I think here's a game where you look at it, you say, you know what, the books are looking for some Washington action here. Carson Wentz, yeah, he stinks, man. He's the king of the 7-yard pass on 3rd and 9. And it's not like where he's leading the receiver in open space. It's an out pattern where the receiver is making a diving catch, tiptoe, tapping the toes in, at the sideline to make that 7-yard catch. It's like he just does not understand the game. He just has no concept, and that's why he's never really been the quarterback leading the way to a winning team. And that's why in Indianapolis, who really has been starving, for a quarterback since Andrew Luck was injured, even they cut bait with him.
They shut
in
the
a hurry.
door, and their owner talking like he was the worst mistake in franchise history. So that's not somebody I want my money on.
Frank Reich was his coach, in Philly. He was the offensive coordinator there. So I don't know. I think Trevor Lawrence. I think Travis Etienne. I think you have a tremendous amount of talent there in Jacksonville. They've been drafting high for a very long time. Got the Browns visiting the Panthers. The Browns 2.5-point road dogs here. Of course, the quarterback situation, well documented at this point in Cleveland. The Panthers, a different quarterback situation. So it's kind of like ironic that it worked out this way. Of course, the schedule was out before the trades were made, but it is Baker Mayfield quarterbacking here against his old team. Jay?
So this game right here, we got Browns, Panthers. Jacoby Brissett is going to be the starter for the Browns. This line originally opened with the Browns as the favorite when I first looked at it. And I'm going to take the Panthers here in this week one. We seen the Panthers actually start last season out 4-0. They looked pretty good to start the season. Christian McCaffrey is back, so Baker will at least have him back there, DJ Moore is a nice receiver. I really like what he has in his tool bag. The Browns coming off just such a controversial offseason. I think the Panthers have the better quarterback in this game, and I think the Panthers defense is slept on. Don't get me wrong, that Browns defense is serious. They got Myles Garrett over there who is, I'm sure, ready to get at Baker in a real game. But with Baker, I think Baker really does get this revenge, man. I don't know. I don't want to say it's written in, but this one might be written in. I'm taking Panthers. I'm taking the Panthers, and I'm going to lay the points. I think they win it by exactly a field goal late. Baker leads them to a late field goal to win the game.
Al, what do you think?
Well, you probably know what I think. I just talked about the Commanders being a bad team. They were 7-10 last year. Now they're favored in week one. Carolina was even worse. They lost 12 games last year, and they're favored. Again, I'm just not going to lay points with bad teams. And when you take a look at how teams that lost 11 or more games the previous year do in their home openers, they're 36-58 ATS when they're favored in their home openers since 1980. So, rinse, wash, repeat, or whatever the expression is. I'll take the points with the Browns.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with the I'm gonna roll with the Panthers in this one. I don't like either of these teams, but I do like Coach Rule, and I think that he does know what he's doing. I think this is going to be an ugly game, and I think that having the home team here, this is going to be one of those ones that's just decided at the last minute with a field goal type thing, and I don't know. This would be my Ruffalo game. And in fact, this is the one that, like, if you don't have, the TV setup or whatever, this is the one that doesn't make it onto the board. This is the one. It's like, which game all right, the Browns, Panthers, I could cross that one out. But, I'll be doing the halftime show. Maybe I'll have a better look at it then, when we do the halftimes with Jay. So we'll figure it out. But we've got the Texans hosting the Colts. This is interesting too. This is now no more Deshaun Watson. Is he? Did he not? Whatever. It's all over now, but the crying there, and what's left is pieces to pick up and try and put back together. Meanwhile, you got the Colts, the Matt Ryan era underway. Fresh set of scenery. He's got some good receivers there. I thought, Pittman out of USC. I loved him at USC. I thought at USC had NFL wide receivers that year. They proved it in the NFL last year. T.Y. Hilton, now just a luxury at this point, kind of a little beaten up at this point in his career. Jay?
Looking at this game, we have another division rivalry game. The Texans are a home underdog. I'm going to take the Texans in this one. I'm not sure what the Colts necessarily. I know the Colts going to be a pretty good team, but here in week one, Matt Ryan, first day under center. I'm not so sure that it's going to be all roses and I'm not sure that it's going to be that. And I'm thinking a lot of people think it's going to be that. This Texans team.
You know why? Because they've seen that running back from the Colts that nobody could tackle last year. And he certainly looks like he has some fresh legs.
Jonathan Taylor most definitely is one or two as best running back in the league. Derrick Henry still one to me, but Taylor probably takes one this season.
1A, 1A, you know.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
running backs, they don't get that time on top for a very, very long time, but it's like, man, when they are on top. And I think Derrick Henry, if he, it'd be interesting to see how he comes back, from
sure.
it. But if he gets back, obviously, he's the best that there is. It needs to be accounted for. But Taylor, just yikes,
For sure.
You don't want to be in the business end of that drive, that's for sure.
The Texans, Davis Mills, he was a rookie last season, and he was decent. Had he stayed one more year at Stanford and came out this season, he would have for sure been the consensus number 1 overall pick. He would have went over Kenny Pickett, or not number 1 overall pick, but he would have been the number 1 quarterback off the board. He would have went before Kenny Pickett, before Malik Willis. So I'm looking at the Texans here as a home dog in a division rivalry game. If the Colts win it, I think they win this one by 6 or 4 points. I think the Texans play them pretty close here, and I'll take the Texans plus the point.
Al?
Yeah, I mean, this game falls into the same double revenge angle as I discussed, in the Pittsburgh and in the Miami games earlier. The same blowout revenge angle as I discussed in the Detroit game, and for basically the same reasons, I'm going to take the points with Houston. They lost both games last year to Indianapolis, 31-3 at Indy, and then they were shut out at Houston, 31-0. So, again, to reiterate, teams playing with double revenge in game 1 against division rivals have gone 61-38 and 2 ATS since 1980, including 49-27 ATS as an underdog. Getting a lot of points here. I'm going to take them.
Now everyone knows what I feel about Doug Peterson and covering the point spread. It's been well documented by my wife's video that she posted of me watching the Colts game. That coach. That coach. No one goes into the prevent too early, compared to this guy. He just, I don't know. We saw the Texans have the miraculous comeback for the backdoor against the Rams last year. I could see the same thing here because the Colts love to do that. Frank Reich loves to do that. He just loves it. So I'm with you guys. I could see an angle for the Texans, but not one of my top plays by any stretch of the imagination.
For sure.
We go into the late games now, and we're gonna have to watch the Giants because there's only 3 games at this. I guess we have 4 games in this time slot, thankfully. All right, so maybe we don't have to watch that much of this one. But we got the Giants visiting the Titans. The Giants 5.5-point dogs, which seems a little to the light side. The Titans lost a lot of those receivers, that they've had over the years, including A.J. Brown that we talked about earlier in the Philly game. Jay, Daniel Jones, getting 5.5 points. Saquon. Another one of those backs that could be in the discussion if he stayed healthy.
Correct. Yeah, you're right. But this is a tough one. This is actually another tough game for me on the board. And I think the side that I'm leaning to right now is the Giants plus the 5.5, actually. We got the quarterback whisperer, quote unquote, now as the head coach over there. He got Josh Allen to where he's supposed to get. And now he's supposed to get Daniel Jones to that next level. And I think actually Daniel Jones, he's playing for it all right now. This is it. This is his last season to prove that he's half anything, or he's done, I think, or he's going to be a career backup. I'm looking at the Giants here in this game.
I bet you they can get a second-round pick from the Lions for him.
I like Jared Goff better than Daniel Jones currently, but that's here nor there. But anyway, I like the Giants. Tennessee, they were the number 1 seed last year, and so it's surprising to me that like you said, this line is 5.5. Especially with Tennessee at home, but I don't know. Maybe they know something that I don't, and I think that they do. And I like the Giants plus the 5.5 in this one. I could just see Tennessee running the football, playing it, playing real tough. It's gonna be a tight, competitive game, and Tennessee wins it by 4. I'm gonna take the Giants with the 5.5. I like it better at 6.
I think we're all kind of in agreement. I mean, is this point spread not the one of the 16 games that makes your eyes bug out the most?
Yeah, for sure.
Giants last in the NFC East last season with a 4-13 record. Tennessee 12-5, get a bye into the quarterfinals, and they're only favored by 5.5 points at home.
New York is 2 legal betting markets. as well.
So, of course, I went to my trusty database to research how teams do off back-to-back losing seasons, like the Giants, when they play in week 1 versus a team off back-to-back winning seasons, like the Titans, and the line's not 7 or more points. Not surprisingly, the team off the back-to-back losing seasons with a relatively short line has covered 60% ATS going back to 1980, including 67% ATS if they were on the road. So I'll take the points.
Daniel Jones sucks. He's not getting one dime of my action. I don't care, man. It's not going to happen.
Couldn't make it a trifecta, Mitch.
Nah, I'm not going there. I can't do it. It's just not in my makeup. I'd rather lose money than sweat it out with Jones. I just can't do it. I think the Titans control the ball. I think they force Jones to make some decisions, and I think that's when he's at his worst, when he has to actually think. For a guy who played at Duke, man, is he a bad decision maker. Duke quarterbacks in the NFL generally don't do too well, and I'll tell you, for the Giants, they really haven't done well. And this is another one that's just it was a head scratcher pick, and it remains to be a head scratcher pick. Most teams cut bait by this point.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, this is do or die for Daniel Jones. So
Kenny Pickett might have been a good fit there.
I'm high on Pickett, man. I like Pickett.
Yeah, well, there's a guy, if you can stink it up good enough this year, there's a few really good ones out there. You got Stroud and Bryce Young probably both going pro this year. So,
and if what's the name for Florida puts together a good season, he might come out too.
Richardson?
Yeah, he looked good.
He's not quite in the same discussion. I think Ewers from Texas is in that discussion.
Nah, too high on him. We'll see. This is his do or die game this weekend.
Well, no, this is not his do or die game. This is not his do or die game. They're going to get slaughtered. I mean, they're going to get slaughtered. But it's like, that's not his doing. That they think it's not his fault that Steve Sarkisian's his coach. I mean, that's not his fault.
The quarterback whisperer too. The college quarterback.
He's not the quarterback whisperer. He sucks. He's really good if you give. He's a really good coach if you give him, if he doesn't have the responsibility of having to be the coach. He was a good assistant. Look at the guys who he was a good assistant for. Pete Carroll and Nick Saban. Wow, congratulations. I could be the ball boy for those guys also and probably get a couple national championships. Oh, he was a national championship winner. Yeah, he also had the Heisman winner. He had the first 85 players taken in the NFL draft. Yeah, it's like, come on, Lane Kiffin's tremendous offensive line. Oh, you mean he let Matt Leinart dunk the ball to Reggie Bush 35 times a game? Wow. What a genius. That's how you get fired in an airplane hangar. People get you confused, that you're a genius. And, it's not like Reggie Bush. Like, people were surprised that this guy was good. I mean, look how much money they gave him, right? The condo, everything. Give me Reggie Bush and give me Reggie Bush. All he had to do is create situations where he's got 2 yards of free space on any side, and it's touchdown every single time. Look at Reggie Bush's high school videos. Tell me that's a hard guy to coach.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of hard guys to coach, Aaron Rodgers got no one to throw to again. Vikings against the Packers. Poor Aaron Rodgers, they just refused to. It's like they're penalized this guy by not drafting receivers for him, but he seems to always make do. I don't know. It's like you'd think that they would have picked up some of these receivers. You see them to get cut and whatever, and you're like, man, maybe the Packers will pick him up, Julio Jones, something like that. Right? No. Jay, what do you think here? Is it finally run out on? Because the Vikings have a really good receiver. They got a really good one. They also got a really good running back, but they got a quarterback that struggles in the big games. But that Metrodome, whatever they call it, whatever the name of the stadium is in Minnesota these days, is a super tough building. Super, super tough. And the year that they did not have the fans in the stands, they lost every home game, and it killed them. But with the fans in the stands, They blow the horn before the game, the skull, right? It's like those guys, this is a very, very tough pill. And they hate Aaron Rodgers. Guts. What do you think?
I'm gonna take the Minnesota Vikings in this one at home, man. Aaron Rodgers, all we've heard from coming out of Green Bay camp all off season is Aaron Rodgers hates his receivers. He's not getting along with any of his receivers. They're not, the young guys can't do this, the young guys can't do that. That's not something I like to hear. No Devontae Adams no more. And let's not forget, Devontae Adams is the bona fide number one receiver in the league. That's not going to be an easy.
No, he is not. He is not.
Devontae Adams is the number one receiver in the league, and it's not close.
I think there's 5 guys I'd rather have than him. And we're going to find out exactly what he's made of with David Carr as his quarterback. I'd way rather have Jefferson than him. I'd way rather have Tyreek Hill than him. I'd way rather have Jamar Chase than him. There's way better guys than him.
I'm taking Devontae Adams every day
no
of the
chance.
week.
No chance.
And that's not an easy loss to replace. And they didn't replace him at all. And
because when you have a quarterback that can create extra time for you to get the separation, you have that option of becoming there's no defensive back that can cover a wide receiver, an NFL wide receiver for that long. But it's just a matter of if the quarterback can create the time and then make the throw. I mean, that's really the difference. And if you have a guy that does that, and yeah, Adams catches those balls, but Aaron Rodgers is the Simon to Garfunkel there at wide receiver.
And I hear you. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be doing that week 1. Like, I think it's going to take some time for this Green Bay team to catch some of those, to get in that groove that those guys need to get in. And you're playing your division rival on the road week 1. I'm taking Minnesota in this game. I like Kirk Cousins. And like you said, I like Justin Jefferson. He's in my top 5 for receivers in the league. With Thielen and Dalvin Cook back there, I think they got enough to get over on Aaron Rodgers and them at home. And that defense, I think they take a step forward. The Minnesota Vikings, Kirk Cousins now has an offensive coach over there. He was under Mike Zimmer. Those 2 guys didn't get along. I think Kirk Cousins maybe has his best season this year that we've seen him have. I think the Vikings are going to be a little better than most people think. I think they're going to give the Packers a run for their money for the division, actually. And this year, I'm going to take the Vikings here to open it up to win it outright.
Straight ass. Al, what do you think?
I mean, over the years, the Metrodome or whatever it's called now has been a house of horrors for Green Bay, especially, Green Bay's lost to a lot of worse Minnesota teams than this one in Minnesota. The Vikings have gone 11-6 ATS as home dogs versus Green Bay. NFC North Division home dogs, whether it's Minnesota, Green Bay, or Detroit, or Chicago, or whoever. They've gone 91-70 ATS in division games. So I'm going to take the points with Minnesota.
I'm going to go with Minnesota here too, but not because Devontae Adams is gone or any of those things that Jay was saying. I'm just saying that Minnesota is just a tough place to play. And I think that we hear Aaron Rodgers' press conference now seemingly every single year. Oh, we're 0-2, we're 0-1. It's like, no reason to push the panic button, and he says it every single year, and every year he, carries this team on his back and gets them there. And I think he will get them there again. And I think he's going to do it there with style. And I think you're going to see that he makes those guys. He makes great players. And he's done it with so many players throughout the years. I mean, so many. I think Devontae Adams is a good football player. I don't think he's an all-time great wide receiver. I think he's a good wide receiver. I don't think he's an all-time great.
He proves a lot of y'all wrong this season with the Raiders. So I think you're going to be a lot better than a lot of people. We'll get to that game here in a minute, though. We'll get to that game.
Yeah, well, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't think he's quite there. I think those LSU receivers, Jefferson and Chase, I mean, those guys are just crazy, crazy good. And, I think when it comes to the speed wide receivers, I think both the Dolphin guys, Waddle and Hill, get it done. I think that Adams,
he does it all though. Power, speed, cuts.
He had the best quarterback in all of football throwing him the ball. Let's see what he would have done with Jared Goff or Daniel Jones. Let's see what he would have done with those guys, because Aaron Rodgers did it with Daniel Jones basically as his wide receivers and tight ends, and even his offensive line.
He's going to have to do it again this season. And the Vikings going to give him a run for his money all season for that division.
You'll see. You'll see. When at the end of the day, it'll be 13-3, 12-4 for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers in the MVP discussion. It's just the way that it is. The way that it is. The way of the world.
10-7.
We will see it. We'll see at the end. We've got the Cardinals taking on the Chiefs. A lot of people down on the Chiefs. All these 4:00 games are now at 4:25. So plenty of extra commercials. You don't have to worry about it anymore. You can just stuff those games with as many commercials as you need. Of course, they've got running clocks and all sorts of stuff going on to make sure that, less game, more commercials, and 4:25 start, extra 25 minutes of commercials. So, but we've got the Cardinals taking on the Chiefs. This is really an odd game here because a lot of people counting the Chiefs out this season, including myself. I said the Chiefs are the team that's probably not going to be in the playoffs this season. Then on the other side, you had Murray for the Cardinals, who I thought was a peculiar choice when they drafted him number one, since he fizzled out of Texas A&M and then went to Oklahoma, played in the Lincoln Riley offense, and played well in it. But in Arizona last year, this team started, I think they were 8-0 to start the season or something like that. 7-1, 8-0, right? But at the end of the season, no bueno. They were losing to Jimmy Garoppolo. Jay, what do you think?
This is another really tough game for me.
They're all tough. It's week one.
Yeah, it's week one, man.
It's the
NFL.
Tough, I love all the people in the YouTube comments on like Ron's videos that are like, "Oh, I'm waiting for football. It's much easier."
No, not at all.
Oh, the games don't seem as rigged. The games aren't rigged. They don't. I mean, in football, they come. It's like there could be like. It's like how do they got to like an 8-point spread in this game? It's like it is right on the line till the final gun goes off.
And I think this one is one of those. I think that this one is going to be just that. The Chiefs. Hey, I know a lot of people are selling their stock. I'm not gonna sell it. But I'm not buying it. I'm just gonna be a shareholder. I'm just gonna stay where I'm at on the Chiefs until I see what's going otherwise. But like you said, the Cardinals actually started the season looking like the best team in the NFL last season. The Cardinals were really started out the season pretty good. Then they were injured. Then they started dealing with a lot of injuries. And currently to start this season, they're still dealing with a lot of injuries. So that's why I have paused taking them plus the 6 at home against the Chiefs. That's where I want to be at. I want to be on the Cardinals plus the 6. I'm one of Kyler Murray's biggest fans. I grew up here in Dallas. Hey, I know I seen it firsthand what he did at Allen High School, best quarterback in Texas history. This guy is a baller. I will never, ever go against Kyler Murray. I will not go
Except
against
this week with Andy.
Not go against him, but doubt Kyler Murray is what I meant to say. I will never doubt him. He is that guy.
They doubted him, though. They're doubting him.
They're doubting him, and I think they. I'm gonna take the 6 points at home with Arizona. That's what I'm gonna do week one. It's not my favorite game on the board. I think, like you said, it's gonna be razor sharp line, but decided to be on. I want the points with the Cardinals.
Al.
Well, NFL home dogs in their home opener. They've gone 24-36 with 2 pushes ATS if they owned a winning record the previous season. For those paying attention, yes, that applies to the Rams Buffalo Bills game as well. I'm gonna lay the points with Kansas City. I don't like taking home dogs up in the home openers when they were winning teams the year before. They just don't do well.
I was one of the people that doubted the Chiefs, coming into the offseason and all of that stuff. But, here we are week one, and betting against Andy Reid just doesn't feel like a very good place to be. The Chiefs just find a way, and this guy's he knows how to win games. He is the way better coach of these two coaches. I mean, it's not even close. He's still, and just because Tyreek Hill is gone, they still got plenty in the tank there in Kansas City. They still have, some pretty good guys on defense. I think, a lot of the holes are created by guys wanting money and all of that stuff. When you win, the guys want to get paid and all of that. And the Chiefs will have those holes, and they're going to have problems. They still might not make the playoffs, but I think they win this game. I don't like the Cardinals this year, and I'm not a Kyler Murray fan. I just don't see it. There's been some great high school football players, that I've seen in my life, but doesn't mean it
this guy
doesn't.
didn't lose a game.
Yeah, neither did
3 years,
neither did
6'8"
DJ
to
Williams.
5A college football. I mean,
Neither did
high
DJ
school
Williams.
football.
What was that high school in California that won 100 games in a row or something? We've got the Chargers and the Raiders. We've talked a lot about this game heading into it. Jay, I know you're not a big fan of Devontae Adams, but do you think that he can suit it up and maybe contribute in this one?
We seen this game in the NFL season last year with the Raiders being the winner, and those guys beat the Chargers straight up and made it to the playoffs. I think they beat them again here, but I was going to take the 3.5 just to be smart. Justin Herbert, the jury is still out. I mean, yes, he's a good quarterback and all that, but I want the same criticism for him as I want him to be held to the same standard as Lamar Jackson. Everybody said Lamar Jackson hasn't won a playoff game in his first 2 seasons. All right, well, let's hold Justin Herbert to that same standard. He has to get to the playoffs this season and win a playoff game to be considered in that top 5. He's not there to me yet. Everybody's trying to anoint him as the next coming, as the best quarterback that we're going to see. I don't see it yet. I don't see it. He still has some stuff to prove to me. I'm going to take Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, and these boys week 1. I think this offense is going to improve. I think that the Chargers could very well finish last in this division. I think that the Raiders could very well finish first in the division and make the playoffs. Take the Raiders here, plus the points.
Al?
I think for the most part, we've been focused on the sides in these opening games and not on the totals, but I think this game is a perfect one to talk about the over-under. When you take a look at the Chargers, they've got this incredible long-term trend. They're 81-35 under the total at home in division games. And then the Raiders, they're 63-39 under the total on the road in division games. So I think I'm going to take this under the total here. It's probably the best bet of any of the situations in this game.
I like the Raiders and the points in this thing. I think they have a chance to win it outright. This one probably goes to overtime. I just think that, we see these teams play very, very close games. When you have teams that are in the same division, like a lot of these matchups are this week, they're built to play one another. That's what they are. They're built to match up against one another inside the division. I mean, how many years did we see AFC East teams drafting defensive backs to fight against Tom Brady? Because you're going to play those teams twice a year, every year. And so that you can do that. And the Raiders and Chargers have done a good job of that. I thought that when the Raiders got rid of Leatherwood, I think it's addition by subtraction there. I think he cost them games. I think a guy like that, and I think they knew that even though he was a first round pick, he cost them games. The penalties at a certain point, it really doesn't matter what you can do on the football field. If you're a constant penalty machine, like every single game, illegal motion, holding, it's like, you can't win, if you keep giving the other team a second chance up and down the field. And I think the Raiders have improved in that respect, also getting that Devontae Adams guy. Anyways, move on to our next game. Speaking of the guy, Tom Brady retired. He's back. Do we get our retirement presents back from him? Not yet, but Buccaneers at Cowboys. These teams played each other week 1 last year. And in that one, the Bucs were heavily favored at home on Thursday night after winning the Super Bowl, and the Cowboys fought them tooth and nail down to the bitter end. I think Zeke has lost a step, and I've said that before, but at the same time, Dak Prescott always surprises me because I always write him off, and then he shows that he can still play. And I think getting rid of Amari Cooper, addition by subtraction once again. Jay?
Now, as much as I want to take my Cowboys in this game, and I'm going to take the Cowboys plus the points in this game, it's not that easy because the Bucs, both teams are dealing with significant injury. The Cowboys, we just lost Tyron Smith, our left tackle, our ox of our offensive line, and that's not going to be something easy that we could just up and replace, especially against this Buccaneers team. With that defense, it's going to be a tough fought game. But on the other side, the Bucs just lost their center and Ryan Jensen as well. So that offensive line is not going to be, just an oil machine. Tom Brady's not going to have just all the time in the world like he is accustomed to. I think that Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence will make him uncomfortable, especially with Tom Brady missing time this preseason. I think that plays a part into why I'm on the Cowboys in this one. I think the Cowboys actually win this game outright. I know y'all gonna probably say fandom, but I'm gonna take the Cowboys here plus the points and on the money line. I think we just get over. I think Dak Prescott, if it's gonna happen, Dak has to put us on his shoulders this season. CeeDee Lamb takes that next step and becomes the number one bona fide receiver and enters that top 5 conversation along with his classmates, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. I believe he is on that level. And I'm a Cowboys fan. A lot of them were mad about the loss of Amari Cooper, but I was one that was saying addition by subtraction, however you say it. The same thing too. I was on that wave too. Amari Cooper, he never showed up in big games, man. He always disappeared. He never was there when we needed him. I think CeeDee Lamb steps up and becomes that guy. Zeke and Pollard, I love our backfield. Take the Cowboys here.
CeeDee Lamb, if he can avoid those fines and play the way he grabs the phone on draft day, well, one of the all-time great draft moments, the phone grab.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Al, what do you think?
Well, Jay loves the Cowboys. I don't like the Cowboys. I'm still taking them. Take a look at how road teams off back-to-back winning years like Tampa Bay, how they do in week 1. They don't do very well. They're 63 and 88 ATS. Dallas has done terrific in their home openers. They've won 5 straight, going 4-1 ATS. When Dallas is installed as a underdog in their home opener, going back to 1980, they're 9-2 ATS. Tampa Bay 4-11 ATS when favored in its season opener, including last year they had a point spread loss to these Cowboys. So I'm going to take Dallas plus the points. And it's up to 2.5 right now. Maybe it'll get to 3.
I like Dallas on the money line in this one against Tom Brady. I think that, we saw Tom Brady make some mistakes during the course of last year, especially earlier in the season. And, I think he had the right idea to retire. And I think he's going to probably be regretting that decision. Todd Bowles, great coordinator, not such a great coach. And the Buccaneers do have some talent on that team, but I think that it's going to be a very tough year in Tampa Bay. And I think Tom Brady, if he came back to expect to go out on top, it's not going to happen. And I think this one could be pretty ugly. I think the Cowboys push the Bucs around in this one.
The Cowboys were actually the number 1 team ATS last year as well, and I like that. So
they also lost to the Jets. We have the Broncos at the Seahawks. They lost to the Jets at the Meadowlands. The Broncos -6.5. Russell Wilson, another game kind of like that Baker Mayfield, was not really planned to be right before the season started or anything, but here it is. Russell Wilson on the road here against the Seahawks. The Broncos drafted skill position players like no one's business. The guy from Penn State, Hamler, and Jerry Jeudy, and all kinds of guys, right? And so Russell Wilson's probably got, more than he's had to work with in a while.
I'm going to take the Broncos in this one. Russell Wilson, though, even though he's one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the league to me, I think he still gets the job done here in this one. I think he has enough to take care of this awful Seattle team. There was a reason he wanted to get out of town here. Drew Lock, I don't really like him. I don't really like Geno Smith either. No way I'm putting my money on either one of those guys. That defense, I don't think it's going to be anything special. I think Seattle actually might be the worst team in the league this season. I'm going to lay the points with the Broncos on Monday night.
Super tough building. Super tough. Al, what do you think?
But Russell is prepared for that. I mean, he's been there, so I'm really not worried about that.
He's been only on the one end of it.
True.
Yeah, I mean, this for me is a tough game. The last thing I really want to do is take a road favorite on Monday night in the opening week of the season, but I am going to do it in this instance here. Take a look at how game 1 favorites do of -5 or more points when they had a win percentage the previous year that was equal or worse than their opponents. Last year, these two teams were both 7-10. Those two, in that situation, these teams have covered 69% ATS. And it goes against the opening week Monday night home trend. Generally, Monday night home dogs do very well. So this is a tough game, but I'm going to lay the points here.
Yeah, I like the home dog. I like Seattle a lot, and I like the building. I like all of those things. I love Clappy. Pete Carroll claps. And every single play. But Geno Smith is kind of in that Daniel Jones discussion for me, where it's like I can't bet on the guy because I know that he can't get it done for me. I don't care if Pete Carroll's coaching him or not. He still can't get it done. And Seattle's has some good players on that team too.
Yeah, but how's Metcalf going to do this year when
there's nobody to get him the football?
Well, Geno Smith really can't hit a receiver. Drew Lock, has a good arm, but the issue with him is that
he's going to throw 30 interceptions. He might beat Jameis's record.
Well, no, in crunch time is where he struggles. But I think Locke, he's young. I mean, look at Peyton Manning's first year. He wasn't so good either. I'm not saying he's Peyton Manning, but I'm just saying it takes time for quarterbacks to develop. And Drew Lock was thrown into a situation where he didn't expect to be even playing at that point. And it's like he wasn't a guy that was drafted out of college who you thought was he's going to step right into the league and play. He wasn't really expected to be that guy. He needed 2 or 3 years. Give him the luxury that Jordan Love has over in Green Bay and see what he comes out to be. I mean, it's a little bit of a different story, but I don't know. I think it's just tough to go against Denver here because Geno Smith sucks so bad, man. It's terrible. So
that's kind of my mindset as well.
That's my mindset as well.
Well, anyways, thanks everyone for sticking with us. We had the technical problems at the beginning, and this is just week 1 of the NFL season. So it's week 1 for the NFL players. It's week 1 for us too. But we managed to get our first NFL show off the ground. We had an NFL show last year. I've got to say this one is about 10,000 times better. And I think it's only going to get better as the season goes on. Hopefully you guys got some good information. You know that these guys are live on shows all week long. Of course, you could also get their premium picks, their best bets each day. And of course, NFL Sunday coming up. Great time to grab a long-term package. But thanks everyone for joining us. Al, Jay, I'll see you guys next week. I'll see you guys this weekend for our live shows, and stay tuned for the drive-through. We ran over into their time, so I'm sure they're chomping at the bit saying, hurry up. We'll see you guys later. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you.